All right. So we're actually live. And listen, man, do you know what the funny thing is, Rickshaw, is last night was Halloween, but what
Yep.
else was it? What else was it?
What else? Monday Night Football.
What else was it? Come on,
Um,
man. Basketball lover, college hoops, it's
it was my
Midnight
it was my
Madness.
ex-wife's
Midnight
birthday.
Madness. Midnight Madness. Did
Oh,
you guys not have that at Michigan?
we had it, but it wasn't a big thing for us. That's
Really?
why Alexa, turn off.
Yeah, Midnight Madness was a big thing for us. So
Okay.
we used to go to it all the time at ASU. It was a lot of fun. It let us know that college hoops was right on the corner. And I actually saw a clip of I think it was BYU's Midnight Madness, and their arena was packed. So it just lets us know that we're getting closer and closer to the start of college hoops. But right now we have a really good college football season wrapping up.
Well,
Uh,
that's why that's what I've noticed. Mitch, is that Midnight Madness is really big for schools who are out of it during the football season.
Hey, uh, um, that might be a good point
Yeah.
because we were only good 1 or 2 years in the '90s, but yeah, you might have a very good point there. But I always look forward to it because I love college hoops like you do, and I look forward to March Madness, and it gets us one step closer to March Madness. So, but last night was the kickoff for that. But listen, we got to talk college football because college football is what's happening right now, and I think this past weekend kind of gave us some clarity. Have we started to see some clarity to make the trip to the discussion of the Final Four, the playoff four, even easier?
Well, I think it's getting clearer. I think it's going to be even clearer after this coming weekend. I mean, we've got some big games coming this week too.
Yeah, well, I think the big one, obviously the one that we're going to talk about here in a couple of minutes. But before we get into Tennessee, Georgia, what are your thoughts? You saw Ohio State going to Penn State. What are your thoughts after that?
Um, well, a couple things. One, what I realized about Penn State was they're a much, much, much better team at home than they are on the road. And I say that after watching them play Michigan at the Big House, and then and then seeing them take on Ohio State at home. They're a much better team. And here's the thing about Ohio State is I think they were trying to show how much stronger their defense was than last year during that game. I think that was going to be their showcase game for it. I don't think they pulled that off. I mean, was that your take also?
The biggest takeaway I had in that game is the answer to your question is yes, their defense is much better. Two, Justin Fields can get rattled and be very inaccurate at times. Or not Justin Fields. What's his name? CJ Stroud.
Yeah,
The Ohio
Stroud.
State quarterback, he can get rattled and be very inaccurate at times. But three was Clifford gets rattled and just completely falls apart quickly. I mean,
Yeah,
he collapses. Like
right.
if when he makes a mistake, he tries to go out and win the game on the very next drive. It just falls apart for him so quickly. Um,
I
I
think
listen.
Petra and Clifford are the same guy. I just think they just switch team from week to week because, I mean, to me, I've been watching those guys play for 3, 4, 5 years now, however long they've been there. I think both of them are close to 30 years old. Um, right, and every year I'm thinking, if I was one of their fans, I'd be saying to myself, when are these guys going to leave?
When are they gone?
We got to
When
get
are they
rid of
gone?
these
Why do we have
guys.
to keep looking at this? Um, Here's the other part about this that I think of. For the last 3 or 4 weeks, thought there was a chance that the Big Ten would get two teams in. I no longer think that way. I think it'll be the Big Ten winner. I think the loser of Ohio State and Michigan will not make the Big Ten, the college playoff at
Oh,
this
I'm
point.
dying to hear your justification on this one.
Well, I think Michigan took a step back this weekend against Michigan State. In my opinion, I still think you have a major problem at quarterback, and against a team like Georgia or these SEC defenses, I think he would just get picked off 3 or 4 times in the game. I just think he'll make those mistakes. And I want to get into this in a little while. It's in our next segment. Is the tunnel fiasco and Jim Harbaugh and all that's wrapped up into that. But I just don't think you can beat an SEC team with just Corum. I don't think you can run the ball good enough for 60 minutes and win the game that way. And I just don't trust your quarterback. I would say the same thing about the guy that everybody thinks is the Heisman front runner in the Ohio State quarterback. I've seen enough out of him that if he went against an SEC defense, I think he would turn the ball over a lot. I think if he goes against a defense that puts pressure on him, and it might be Michigan, that Morris guy, your defensive end, he might throw 3 interceptions against Michigan.
Let me tell you something about the SEC defenses. I watched that Tennessee-Alabama game. I don't
Yeah.
think either team has a defense that's worth a lick. And I think they're both very good offensive teams. So we'll see when they get up against a team that can actually run the ball with impunity, how they do.
Who is that team?
Michigan is that team. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Michigan can run the football. They'll run the ball. They'll run the ball. They'll run the ball. Here's the thing with JJ, and yeah, is JJ a work in progress? Absolutely, but he's also completing over 70% of his passes. He only has 2 interceptions on the season. And he's in all he gets pushed back because Michigan runs the ball so well that they don't just use him enough. He is not getting enough
Oh.
reps. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I just think he makes bad decisions. I think he makes bad decisions when there's somebody around him. I think I saw that against, I think it was Penn State that he did that, where he threw the ball up a couple times. Another time he threw it and he got picked off and I don't think was it a pick six that he gave up?
It
Did
did.
that guy return?
Yeah, it hit 3 helmets and went to a guy
Yeah.
who was running in the right
But
direction.
if
Yeah,
even
right.
if it made it past the defensive lineman, he was throwing it at double coverage. The running back was bracketed that he was throwing to. It was a poor decision all the way around.
Yeah.
So so you're a Michigan fan. After seeing what they did against Michigan State, do you feel like they're a top 4 team in the country?
I absolutely do. I will tell you something. Michigan gets the best game out of Michigan State every year. It's their Super Bowl. Thus, that's what happened in the tunnel afterwards. It's just the game is such an emotional game. As a Michigan fan, that game's not even any fun for us. We just really want that week to be over. We want to get the W and just get away from that whole circus that is Michigan State.
What I'm
Yeah,
doing
that game. If you win that game by 3 touchdowns, like Michigan did, it's mission accomplished.
So I'm looking at this, and it could come. This could get interesting because I didn't realize this, but Illinois now is leading the other side of the bracket.
Yeah,
Um, don't shortchange that running back for him. He's actually really good.
I know. Here we go with that.
Chase
You
Brown is
always
a good
fall
running
in
back.
love with these running backs. It was Abraham
He's a
for a
good running
while.
back.
Now it's Brown. Here's the thing: he's
Well,
probably a good.
Ibrahim might be the first running back taken in the draft, but
He
Chase Brown is really good.
yeah.
Do
Okay.
you don't think that they can run the ball against Michigan?
I think they'll run the ball a little bit. I don't think they're gonna. I'm not expecting them to light it up against us. Nobody has. Why would I
Yeah.
expect that Illinois would, especially at the Big House? Um, here's I see Michigan win. Michigan will probably go into that game as a 2-touchdown favorite. I expect them to win by that amount.
Big expectations. Big expectations. Well, let's flip it out because right now I also want to talk about the Conference of Champions, Pac-12.
Oh yeah, okay. I always love to talk about the Pac-12. That's always entertaining. Hey,
So
I can't remember. Remind me. Are UCLA and USC still undefeated?
No, they're not.
I
They're
didn't think
not.
so.
But
Yeah.
here's the difference is they actually so in the Pac-12 teams take care of home field advantage like they should. It's actually better conference top to bottom than the Big Ten. I'll argue that all day long with anybody. Listen, Oregon. Everybody keeps talking about Oregon has an outside shot at the playoff. I don't give it to them. When you lose the way that you've lost, I think you've lost that opportunity. I still believe that on a neutral field, UCLA would be the team to beat out of USC, Oregon, and UCLA. I think UCLA would be the best team in that group, but I don't think UCLA has a shot now at the playoff either.
I like their quarterback, UCLA. I think, and I think they've got a pretty good offense. They've got an
They do.
ex-Michigan running back with Charbonneau,
Yep.
who I've always had a lot of respect for. And I like how their offensive line is moving people off the ball. They seem to have some pretty good receivers, and
Yep.
whoever their offensive coordinator is, he's doing a decent job. But again, another team that doesn't play a lick of defense. So, and that's why they got beat. That's why they got beat this year. So
Well, they got beat in Oregon, right? I mean, let's
yeah, they got beat
listen.
down in Oregon, is what they did. And
So
what
what
was
happens? Okay, what happens if Michigan goes and loses by 17 points at Ohio State? It's a road game. To me, it's a road game, and I
yeah.
I, I think Ohio State's supposed to win that like that
Well,
because
that's
it's
this
a
is
home
what we
game
were
for them.
talking about earlier. Is why you said you don't expect two Big Ten teams to get in. Here's how I see two Big Ten teams getting in, and that's that both Michigan and Ohio State get to face each other undefeated, and they get into a game that's going to be 28-24, 27-23, something like that, where the difference really is the home field edge. I mean,
Yeah.
then you could make an argument that those teams are equal, and if they're if one is undefeated and one has one loss, Michigan's going to have played what, five ranked teams at that point.
Okay, so who's got the biggest? All right, so here's the scenario: who has the best win so far? What's the best win so far by a college football team this year
Tennessee,
over Alabama?
Alabama.
See, I would argue that it's Georgia beating Oregon the way they did on a neutral field. I would say Tennessee's win over Alabama was the second biggest win of the year. So why if Tennessee goes and loses by 10 points at Georgia, they're not going to make the SEC championship game if they lose that game. So if they have one loss and they run the table after that and they don't make the SEC championship game, you would take a one-loss Ohio State Michigan loser over Tennessee with one loss, even though you just said the best win of the season is Tennessee over Alabama?
Tennessee's biggest win came at home. Michigan's biggest loss would be on the road at Ohio State, number one. I
Do
I
you
would
think that the
say,
competition level that Michigan has played the rest of the season is the same as what Tennessee has played this
yeah,
year?
Tennessee's only had three tough games. I mean, they'll really only have had three tough games, right? They have played Alabama, Georgia, and whoever is
Well, first of all, now they went into LSU and they mopped up LSU, and now LSU is a top 15 team, right? They're ranked 15th going in against Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
so
okay, I'll give them 3 wins. I mean,
all right. So let me ask you this: let's just say LSU beats Alabama. Now Alabama's got 2 losses, but still wins their side of the bracket. Let's just say this loss right here, causes one team not to make it. What happens if Georgia beats Tennessee, then beats Alabama? Georgia goes. You have one loss, Tennessee. Do you send in then 2 Big Ten teams, 2 SEC teams, 2 Big Ten teams, and leave Clemson out? I just think that
let me
this
tell you
past
something.
weekend's,
Let's talk about Clemson for a second, okay?
yeah.
I mean, what is Clemson's big win this year? Is it Syracuse, really?
Uh, well,
At
listen,
home?
they're hey, listen, is there a big difference right now between the Big Ten and the ACC? Do you see a big difference?
Oh my God, yes.
You do?
Oh yeah.
What? Why?
Well, all right, here's what I'll say. Well, let me ask you, would Illinois beat Wake Forest?
I think it'd be a great game. That's
Yeah,
a
I think
that's a great question. That's a great
yeah.
question.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Illinois would beat Wake Forest. I think Michigan would beat anybody in the ACC, and I think Ohio State would beat anybody in the ACC.
I think both teams would struggle with Clemson's defense. I think
They
Clemson
don't.
has a really good defensive line.
Syracuse didn't really even struggle with Clemson's defense. If it hadn't been for a late out of bounds hit, Syracuse would have won that football game. I mean, come on.
We got hold on. We got Rickshaw's getting a little riled up here. We're getting
Wow.
Rickshaw a little riled.
Yeah, I mean their big win of the season is Syracuse. And they shouldn't even have won that game. Come on, let's go here.
Oh, come on,
I
man.
mean,
You got to get
they
listen.
are the poster child for playing a weak schedule and getting into the event or getting into the CFP.
I actually see a lot of similarities between Michigan and Clemson. I think it would be a really close game. I see a lot of similarities there. I think Ohio State has a worse rushing attack, but a better passing attack than Michigan, and I think Michigan has a better running attack and a worse passing attack than Ohio State. I think Clemson has a good running attack and a bad passing attack. I see a lot of similarities there between Michigan.
Who has the higher completion percentage, Stroud or JJ?
Well, but who didn't they play? Who did they play the first 3 games? Weren't they Division II teams? Didn't they start the season by playing Division II?
They did. They didn't play any Division II teams. They were all they were all a 1A, but
Wasn't one Colorado State? Wasn't another like Nevada or Utah State, and then Hawaii? Like 3 of the bottom 5
Hawaii and
teams.
UConn, who just beat Boston College, by the way. So yeah, speaking of the ACC,
Are
right?
you're really watching it? You're
No,
watching.
I didn't
You're
watch it. I
watching.
saw it come up on my TV, and I said, "Man, does BC suck?" That's that's what I thought. I saw when I saw that score come across. I'm going, "Frickin' UConn beat BC." At
Man,
BC, I'm like, "How's that happen?" You
man, I'll
know?
tell you what. I don't know. I think I honestly think right now I think the only way that 3 SEC teams don't make the playoffs is if Alabama doesn't win. If Alabama ends up with 2 losses, they're not in. If Alabama wins out and wins the SEC championship game, I think there's a very good chance there's 3 SEC teams out of 4 in the playoffs.
If there's going to be 2 SEC teams, they're going to come from the championship game. If you're not in the championship game in the SEC, you got no chance to make the playoff.
What about the Big Ten? The Big Ten's a worse conference. How could you put 2 Big Ten teams in if they don't make the championship game?
Oh, I'm saying, well, they could. I mean, they could make the championship game. It could be.
How could Ohio State and Michigan both make the
No, I'm not
championship
saying. I'm
game?
not even talking about Michigan. I think Illinois
You're
only
talking
got
about
1 loss, right?
Yeah, what I'm talking
Yeah.
about right now is you said that there was a chance that 2 Big Ten teams get in, but there's no way that both Ohio State and Michigan could make the championship game. And your argument was if you don't make the championship game, you can't get in.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
just got done saying that Michigan and Ohio State could get in, but both of them wouldn't make the championship game. You can't have that argument.
It's going to be interesting this week to see what the CFP rankings come in at, because this is kind of, I think people say, it's early, blah, blah, blah. But
I
I
think
think
it's
this
very
first
important.
ranking is very important because it
I'll tell you what's
establishes
important.
a baseline for where these teams are starting.
I think
Right?
it's horrible that they have preseason rankings because I think that allows mediocrity to get up there. I don't right now, and I'll go on your side on this. If rankings just started, like AP rankings just came out in week 8, Clemson wouldn't be a 5 ranking. They would be a 10. They're there because of their preseason ranking. They've been undefeated and they've gotten through some games, some games that way. So I agree there, and I think the funny thing is we're not even talking about TCU, who has a Heisman candidate quarterback, but has no chance of getting into the playoff.
I actually would put TCU ahead of Clemson. I actually think they played a tougher schedule for sure.
Okay.
They have.
Well, listen, I think coming to Florida State, I don't think Florida State's a cupcake. They came into Florida State, handled their game. They've beaten NC State. They've beaten the teams in front of them. And outside of their quarterback struggling, I think they're a really strong team. Their weakest place is their quarterback, and if he plays well, they can play well.
Is your door open? I mean, can the guys out in the hallway hear what you're saying? Is that why you're giving Florida State love, because you got Florida State guys there? Come on. Florida State's not a very good football team either. Come on.
Norvell. Just remember Norvell.
Come on.
All right. So listen, one of the things that I want to do when we come right back, we're going to take a quick commercial, but when we come back, I actually want to talk about I want to talk about the Michigan tunnel debacle. So let's take a quick commercial with Sport Hitters, and when we come back, we're going to talk about that.
So what's it like playing Sport Hitters, whether you're at your favorite bar or just anywhere? Sport Hitters' unique challenge brackets offers players a new way to play. Sport Hitters allows you to pick your teams and challenge friends, family, and rival players, all for real money. And best of all, now it's every sport, every day. You can get the app exclusively at sporthitters.com. Sport Hitters, challenge on.
All right. Listen, this is I want to hear from a Michigan guy and what your thoughts are on all this, because I definitely have my thoughts. What are your thoughts on the tunnel fiasco?
Well, first of all, that it's unfortunate. That should not take place in college sports. And quite frankly, as a Michigan fan, it's a big distraction for us. I really wish. I mean, we got 4 big games ahead of us coming up. Starts this week. We're on the road. Yeah, it's a bottom feeder in Rutgers, but we're their Super Bowl, and here we are still talking about events from the Michigan State game. Again, this is where I said earlier today about being a Michigan fan, and Michigan State week is no fun for us. We just really think we should beat those guys. We want to get it over with, and then now we got all these freaking details to deal with.
Well, couldn't. So I'll put everything on Harbaugh. I put all the blame on Harbaugh for all this, because here's the problem, Rickshaw. This is the second time in 2 weeks. How unintelligent is it for you to send your team right back? If it is this big of a rivalry, if it is this heated, how foolish is it for you to keep sending your team up the tunnel at the same time as them? It's foolish. It's beyond foolish. And you should have learned your lesson 2 weeks ago. But what he did 2 weeks ago was I blame Franklin. Now he's blaming the other team again. It's on you, Harbaugh. Harbaugh's turned into a clown. To me, he's turned into a complete clown as far as coaches go. He is like his brother. His brother is the biggest baby in the NFL. He has turned into that in college football. The onus should all be placed on Harbaugh. This could have all been a non-issue, and he could have squashed it immediately after the game. So you could have turned your focus to Rutgers. Instead, I want the police involved. I want this involved. This is who he's become. He's become a spectacle. That is the way I can't believe this is the guy that was the tough guy in the NFL that once went into Jim Kelly and manned up to Jim Kelly and gave him a little sock in the mouth, did what he did with Stanford, built up Stanford, and then this is what he's become. I don't know how you guys don't see this. I don't.
Are you almost done with this rant? Because it's ridiculous. Let me tell you something. First of all, Harbaugh didn't create this situation. The tunnel's been there for 60 years without incident.
How hard is it? How hard is it to
8 games
keep
a
your field?
year for 60 years. Do the math.
How hard is it to keep your team on the field for 30 seconds to let the other team go in front of you? How hard is that?
You know what? One kid who always does this, Jamon Green always goes up the tunnel first because his parents are at the game. They come from Texas. He wants as much time with them as possible. He goes up the side tunnel peacefully. He's done it in the 3 years that he's been there. It has never been an incident before. This is not about a kid being all by himself in the tunnel. This is about thuggery. And it had no place. It should not have happened. Harbaugh did not overreact. One guy held a kid while the other kid hit him with the helmet. The kid's got a concussion. That's not acceptable. And
I'm not saying it's acceptable. I'm saying that Harbaugh should have diffused the situation better 2 weeks ago instead of blaming Franklin. So he said, you know what?
So
I'm
you're
going to
stand in front of Jamon's parents as your coach of your team and say, yeah, I swept this under the rug. Is that what you're going to say?
No, what he should say and what he should have done is like, this is on me. I should have taken steps to make sure this didn't happen again. It happened 2 weeks ago. I should have fixed it. I will make sure it doesn't happen again. That's what he should have said. And he doesn't.
Harbaugh's got a job on the field, and Michigan had hired extra security for this game. If there's a breakdown, it's the security didn't do their job.
That's not what Harbaugh said. Harbaugh said, "Hey, listen, I go in there, I take responsibility as their leader. I talk to their parents as their leader. So he is their leader. It is on Harbaugh. He should have fixed this and been able to fix this. If this just happened 2 weeks ago, Rickshaw, we made a joke about this 2 weeks ago, and it's turned in from a joke into a serious situation because he didn't handle it.
It goes back to what I said about the Michigan State game. I would not be upset at all if this series took a hiatus. I mean, these two teams hate each other, and it's gotten to the point where it's not about football anymore. And that was demonstrated until it became a street fight instead of a football game. We got to get back to a fun rivalry. I mean, we're a house divided here in Michigan. My daughter went to Michigan State, right? I've got friends that are Michigan State graduates. We can't even talk this week. I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's not fun anymore, and it's not on Jim Harbaugh. This was going on long before Jim Harbaugh even came back to Michigan. It's just gotten bad.
Why is it? Okay, so what is the heated rivalry? Is it Michigan State or is it Ohio State? Of the two, which is the more heated rivalry?
For us, it's Ohio State, of course, but for them, it's us, right? And that's part of the problem is they feel disrespected because we don't reciprocate with the same amount, of the rivalry that they do. And it's that little brother thing. I wish Mike Hart would have never said that. But it has stuck, and it sticks in their craw. It's bad. I mean, that's where the rivalry has gotten to. It's gotten to ugly name calling, and it's not good.
Well, the other coach that right now seems to be putting his foot in his mouth a lot is Jimbo Fisher. Because this year he's had two different, arguments or Twitter squabbles. One was with obviously Nick Saban, in which he kind of accused Nick Saban of stuff that without accusing him, and then Lane Kiffin,
Which are
and
probably
both
true.
both of those guys got the better of him. So now you got, if this was a player, the coach would be like, guys, stop giving them, locker room material, stop giving them the bulletin board material. But it's
Yeah.
the coach. It's the coach that's giving the other teams all these bulletin board materials. And
Well,
now,
now he just has to go to his players and say, "Hey, get my back."
well, not only are they not getting his back, he lost 4 of those. He had that amazing recruiting class. 4 of them are gone in the transfer portal. 4 of them
Yeah.
left 2 weeks ago in that
They
transfer
must
portal.
they
From
must
that,
not have got their money or something. I don't know. Right.
so what?
Yeah.
You see all these crazy things going on in the world, in the world of coaching. To me, in the world of coaching,
Yeah.
I think the big one that down in the area that we're in right now, it might be a little too far north for you, but there's a lot of Auburn fans up here in Tallahassee. And yesterday, the announcement of that, we're all trying to figure out, is it Dion? Is Prime Time going to be Auburn's next head coach?
Oh, that would be interesting.
I
Yeah.
think he is. Whatever it is, I think it's going to be interesting. I think Auburn is going to be in a position to make basically Auburn's going to be in a position to make some moves, I think, and pay some coaches some good money. Listen, at the end of the day, you had a pretty good week last week in college football. Yeah.
I was 2-2 last week. I didn't. I won the. I had Michigan State with the points because I know what a rivalry that is, and they covered by 1.5. And then I had. I think I had Minnesota winning big. I forget. I had 2 losses though. I had Ohio State, I think, which didn't cover, and I had one other game. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. Do you remember?
I believe I'm looking right now, but I can tell you that I had a weird week because it was tough for me because in sport hitters, it's hard to take either heavy favorites or heavy underdogs. You can take underdogs, but if they're like a 2-touchdown underdog, it's hard to take them in sport hitters just because you're doing a pick 'em, and although you can probably win. So I ended up taking some stuff that I didn't take in the sports book. But I will say one of my picks I thought was going to be good was Tulsa, and they got slapped around a little bit by SMU.
Yeah. Well, hey, I was in
Syracuse.
3 challenges. Didn't I win the challenge I was in with you? I think I did.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Oh,
You
okay.
won the
Sorry.
college football challenge.
I was confused as to which picks you were talking about.
No,
Okay.
you won the
All
college
right.
football challenge.
Yeah. Say that
and
again. What did I do?
You won it with I'll read them to you. You had TCU,
Yeah.
good game, great
Yep.
game. You had Oregon over Cal, easy winner there.
That was an
You had-
easy winner. Yeah.
You had Georgia over Florida.
Another easy winner.
Another easy winner, and you had Iowa over Northwestern.
Oh yeah, and you were telling me that they weren't going to cover that game. I told you, and we had this discussion. I can't remember what game it was earlier in the season where you guys were saying they can't score, they're not going to cover. I'm going, this is exactly why you take them. This is the trap Vegas has laid for you.
Yeah,
this is the trap.
Yeah,
take them to cover.
Yeah, it was a tough. So the teams that I liked in the book, I liked the high point spreads last week. I liked Tennessee to cover the 9.5. They rolled that pretty easily. I liked UCLA to roll up on Stanford. They did that, but I also liked Penn State plus the 15.5. Now, for the longest time, I was able to kick back, put my feet up, and enjoy a beverage up until Clifford decided to give them 28 points in about 4 minutes. At that point, I was like, you got to be kidding me. What am I watching? And then it's funny. He got the backdoor cover. So they went from leading to having to get a backdoor cover on getting plus 15.5.
I know. I had the other side of that game. I had Ohio State. I was thinking, okay, here we go. I got it. Now they're in cruise control. But then they let that late touchdown come in. So
it was, it was the roller coaster. And this week, I think, listen, and this week, going into this week, I mean, is there really any games? There's one game on everybody's mind. Everybody wants to see what happens. How does Tennessee stand up in Georgia? What are your thoughts on what's going to happen in Tennessee, Georgia?
Um, I think Georgia's a way better defensive team than Alabama,
Okay.
and I see Georgia winning that game by 2 touchdowns plus.
Wow. Okay. So I could see that. I can see that because it is in Georgia. That's a tough place to play, especially they get up for big games, and especially at home, that place is going to be rocking. I see a lot of similarities with Tennessee's offense that I've seen with Alabama's really good offenses. The last 3 or 4 years when they had really good receivers. Their receivers, for some reason, it's hard to say whether Hendon Hooker is a really good quarterback because his receivers are so wide open all the time. I mean, there are nobody. Sometimes there's nobody around him, and I don't know if that's Heupel just calling incredible plays. I don't know if these receivers are just great route runners. I don't know what it is, but they have
Or
tall
maybe
receivers.
they're just bad defenses. Yeah, you left that one out. Yeah.
Well, Kentucky's played good defense against teams this year. Alabama's played decent defense against teams this year. I don't necessarily know because it can't just keep happening. These receivers are that Wyatt guy or Hyatt, number 11 for Tennessee, seems to be open by 10 yards all the time. I don't.
Right.
It's like Devontae Smith. He looks like Devontae Smith out there. He's that wide open all the time. They just got back Tillman, who was supposed to be a preseason top 3 wide receiver. He's actually one of the best receivers in the country. They just got him back. They have an explosive offense. I am very excited about watching this game. It's going to tell us a lot. But again, I don't know whether Hendon Hooker is that great of a quarterback or not because he wasn't at Virginia Tech. Now he's lights out. So I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be an incredible game. Um, uh, it's going to be hard to predict. I probably won't make my prediction on that until probably Friday on our Friday afternoon podcast. I'll be pulling. Here's what I will say. I'm rooting for Tennessee. I'm definitely
I,
rooting for Tennessee to
I've
win the game.
heard your Rocky Top tone for a couple of weeks now.
H4H.
I think when
H4
we hang up here, you'll be singing Rocky Top.
H4H. Might get an H4H back here. Hendo for Heisman. H4H.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's the new wagon. I bought my ticket. I'm on it. Let's go.
Well, okay. Well, let me know when you get off this weekend. Let me know when it happens. Yeah.
What? So Michigan's on the road. You got Michigan playing Rutgers.
We play Rutgers. This is one of our supposed to be one of our rest games. Yeah. We just played Penn State and Michigan State in back-to-back games. So we need a little respite.
How about the Alabama LSU game?
Yeah, I think LSU is a pretender this year. I see Alabama winning that game handily also.
Handily.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Nick Saban's on a mission now. He's got one loss, right? He knows the only way they get back in the playoff is with style points. And so he'll be styling.
So level 2, I call them levels now. So level 1 is the 12:30 kickoffs Eastern. Level 2 is a 3:30. Tennessee Georgia is a level 2. They're going up against nobody really. Nobody cares about the rest of those games. Or maybe Oklahoma State, Kansas. Here's what I'll say about the ACC. Also, we kind of talked about this.
Yeah.
I think Syracuse losing to Notre Dame definitely hurt the ACC, and I think it opened the door to leaving Clemson out as an unbeaten. With Syracuse getting beat by Notre Dame last weekend. I'm looking for. I want to see how Jaden Daniels does against Alabama. This is Jaden Daniels from ASU. He's kind of resurging the charge for LSU right now, and he looks like the ASU freshman Jaden Daniels that was running and passing and carrying the team. So I'm interested to see how he does. Clemson gets a shot at Notre Dame this weekend. I think, if I'm right, Notre Dame might have won 5 in a row. They might be on a 5-game winning streak, 4 or 5-game winning streak. I think they're starting to piece it together. The Wake Forest NC State game, one of those two teams is leaving the top 25. Probably NC State without their quarterback because the backup's not that good. USC's got a home game. UCLA goes into Arizona State. I don't think it's going to end well for my Devils. I just don't think they're going to do too well. So, what was, if you're going to look at one game and say I want to run up, and that's the game I'm going to believe in. What game would that be for you?
You mean in terms of betting it?
Yep.
God, you're ahead of me because I'm not there this week yet. But I will say, I like Maryland over Wisconsin. That's a road game for Maryland. That'll be close to a pick'em game. Maryland, I think, will win by a touchdown there. I like Oklahoma State beating Kansas on the road.
Handily. Beat
Uh,
him handily.
they could beat them handily. Yep. I think Syracuse better look out for Pitt. They're playing at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So that's another game. I see Washington State winning by more than a touchdown at Stanford.
How about the game you just talked about Penn State, the difference, them on the road and at home.
Yeah.
They're a 2-touchdown favorite on the road this week against Indiana. Isn't that a crazy line?
Indiana's not very good this year. And they're.
What about Penn State's not that good?
No, but they still have stuff to play for, and Indiana doesn't. And that, to me, that makes a difference. They're not. Indiana's not going to qualify for a bowl, and so I think that there comes a point in a season where players give up, and if you're not in it, and I think Indiana's at that point right now. So I would say that I think Penn State will roll in that game.
Why is Texas favored at Kansas State? To me,
that's a really good question. I will be taking Kansas State in that game.
They've proven they can win with Howard. I didn't think they could win with Will Howard, but he played really good last week. And I mean, they just tore apart Oklahoma State. I mean, tore them apart.
Yeah, I've been watching Adrian Martinez play at Nebraska for 3 or 4 years now, and he's a very mistake-prone quarterback, right? And I can't believe how well he was playing at Kansas State. And I had to wonder to myself, why is that? I mean, why all of a sudden the resurgence?
He has a great running back with him.
Maybe that's it.
Vaughn is really good running back. He's a 4-year starter for them, and he's explosive. I think he had 230, 240 yards rushing against OK State. I mean, he's a really good college running back. Vaughn is.
Yeah, well, maybe Martinez doesn't think he has to do it all now. Maybe you're right. Maybe having Vaughn and has been a real benefit to him as a quarterback. But I got to tell you, I was surprised to see him doing so well this year. And actually, I got to tell you, Howard was shockingly good last week. So
I'm with you. Shockingly is absolutely the right word. I didn't think I thought Oklahoma State when they announced Martinez was going to be out of the game, I thought Oklahoma State was the play.
Yeah,
I didn't play it, but I actually mentioned it to some of the guys in the office. I said because they wanted to play that game, and I says you better watch to see who the quarterback is for Kansas State. But there's a couple things that stand out. Not only is that line crazy to me, the Penn State line is crazy to me. The Kansas State line is crazy to me. I'll tell you what, I think the Tennessee line is crazy to me. I like Tennessee getting 8.5 points. I really like them getting 8.5 points. I think it's a crazy number. That offense, they could be down by 14 late and get a late touchdown. They could be down by 10 late and get a late touchdown. They're the number one offense to me in college football. Those receivers will score. Now, do I think Georgia will force some turnovers? Yes, I do. But I also think Tennessee's defense and defensive line is a little better than you give them credit for. So because I believe Alabama's offense is really good with their quarterback.
I believe their offense is very good. I just don't think their defense is very good.
I think.
Yeah, let's talk about Clemson, Notre Dame for a second. I mean, Notre Dame obviously not very good team this year at 5-3. Although
there's that quarterback starting to piece together with the running game. They ran the ball really well against Syracuse. Syracuse could not stop Notre Dame from running the football last weekend. They couldn't.
Yeah. And this is the same Notre Dame team that could not run the ball against Ohio State, which is not considered a great run defense.
Right.
But all right, let's say here, Clemson is only a 4.5 point favorite as the number 5 team in the country, right? I mean, this tells you what Vegas thinks of Clemson, and they're going to Notre Dame, which, I guess Notre Dame's got a lot to play for still. They need one more win to be bowl eligible, right?
I love Notre Dame in this game. They're getting the points.
Yeah, plus 4.5. I'm kind of with you on that.
At Notre Dame. How do you not take? If anything, that quarterback is going to struggle. The problem with Clemson is what keeps them from being a top tier team is their quarterback. And you saw it you've seen it in every game. He misses people high, he misses people low. He's very inaccurate quarterback. And I think it was Syracuse where he had 2 or 3 turnovers against Syracuse. One got they were getting ready to score and he fumbled the ball, got returned for a scoop score.
Well, it isn't just that's the problem with Clemson. Here's the other problem with Clemson. Their defense, they gave up 10 points to Georgia Tech to start the season. They gave up 12 points to Furman, okay? And then 20 points to Louisiana Tech, again, not even a Division I school. They gave up 45 points to Wake Forest, 20 points to NC State. Boston College sucks, as we determined, because they got beat by UConn last week. They only gave up 3. They gave out 28 to Florida State, 21 to Syracuse. I mean, it isn't a vintage Clemson defense by any stretch. Yeah. And so, I mean, the question is, I think Clemson will probably put up, I mean, they're averaging about 20, looks like about 30 points a game, and that's with 3 blowout wins against weak sisters. So let's say they're averaging 30 points a game. I think it's not inconceivable that Notre Dame could put up 30, 35 points against that defense. And I could see Clemson scoring 20, 24 in this game.
So the only thing I'm worried about in this game is that I think everybody under the sun is going to bet Notre Dame. That is what makes me nervous, because as I sit here and as you sit here, I think we both think Notre Dame is definitely the play.
Well, the line's 4.5 right now. You can go bet it right now. And here's the over/under is 46 in this game. So they're expecting a lower scoring game. That's low scoring for a college game, 46. Yep.
Yeah.
So I actually like the over.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna have to. I want to wait. That's a level 3 game. That's a 7:30 kick. So it's a level 3 start.
So when you lose your first 2 that day, you go all in on Notre Dame? Is that what you're saying?
No, it allows you to sit and watch what happens with some of the other games and see how the day is playing out. Watch that line move. You can watch that line move. It gives you time to watch the line move, and also lets you know, since it's a level 3 start, it lets you know if some guys didn't miss curfew, some guys get suspended late. A lot of stuff happens on Friday night and Saturday morning some players don't play.
I'm in total agreement on that, but I'm just saying, I don't think, Notre Dame's just get more than 4.5. They might get less if the line moves.
I think we just got to wait and see who plays and who doesn't play. I mean, listen, if Ukulele is the starting quarterback and, and Notre Dame has their full squad that played last week against Syracuse, I'll probably take Notre Dame.
Ukulele, is that really his name?
Ukulele or something like that. I don't know how to say it. Ukulele.
I like ukulele.
Yeah,
right. It's got a very nice sound to it. The ukulele. Yeah. Anyway, 46. I like the over 46.
To be honest, I mean that's going at the same time as the Kansas State game, so I think I'll be watching that one a little more closer than
really. I'll be watching the Notre Dame game. I have no respect for Clemson, which is obvious. So we shall see how that game goes. I'll be rooting for, and this is hard for me to say, but I'll be rooting for Notre Dame in that game.
What would all right? So again, what is your pick of the week?
Oh, good Lord. Going back to that Texas game, I've got a couple in here that I really like. Yeah, I'm thinking Kansas State. I think my pick of the week. I also very much like Pitt getting the. Let's see, how many points is it?
Pittsburgh's getting about 3.5. Pittsburgh's minus 3.5.
3.5. It's 3.5. Yep. And so I like Pitt getting a 3.5 in that game as well. Right, I think Narduzzi's is a pretty good defensive coach. I think he'll have a plan for shutting Syracuse down.
Well, it's time for the closer. All right, I'm going to go back as my pick of the week. I'm going to go back to the same thing I've been on for the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to take the Penn State game. I'm going to take Indiana. I like Indiana plus the points at home. I think I've got a good pulse on what Penn State's doing right now. In their games, I've been pretty good in their games this year, and I like Indiana at home. As bad as Indiana is, I don't think Penn State should be a 14-point favorite against anybody on the road.
Well, I'll come to your funeral. Yeah.
Well, just make sure to listen. Congratulations on your win last week. I know we're going to jump back in and have another one. Any thoughts up there about your Detroit teams?
Very excited about the Pistons. Actually, they beat the Golden State Warriors the other night, and they got this young group of guys running all over the floor, trying to figure out how to play defense. The only way they beat the Golden State team was to outscore them. I think the game was like 142 to 128 or something. But yeah, I'm very excited about Detroit Pistons. Red Wings are off to a good start this year, looking good.
Yep.
So yeah, the Lions they're the prototypical sad sack Detroit Lions, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, how about them throwing their? I mean, was that a big move yesterday or what? They fired their defensive backs coach.
Oh my God! They
So in the
should have
last
fired the defensive backs. You know?
So in the last 2 weeks, the big moves by the Lions, they made their punter the highest paid punter in football, and they fired their defensive backs coach.
Hey, when you're a Lions team, you need punters, man. Punters are important.
One other thing is you just mentioned. I have a quick question since you're following the Pistons. I saw something about Jaden Ivey keeps fouling out. Is he having a hard time on defense?
Oh my God! I was watching the game the other day where he had 4 fouls in the first quarter.
What is going on? What is?
It's like, how does he do that? But yeah,
why? What's going on there?
Well, he's an aggressive player, and and he's big for a point. He's playing on the point. And he's a big guy, right? He's probably 6'5" or 6'6", and yeah, he's having a little tough time with some of these quick NBA guards. So,
but he's still faster than they aren't, isn't he?
No,
he was really fast in college.
Yeah. Well, and he's taken some offensive fouls too.
Yes.
So yeah, so he'll learn. He's one of those kids where you just look at him and you go, this kid's going to be really good someday, but not right now.
Really? He's not ready to be. He is.
He has moments. He's brilliant one moment, he's terrible the next. But that's a rookie. They got Cade Cunningham, Jalen Durham. They've got Saddiq Bey. They got Isaiah Stewart. They got this young nucleus of players that are really starting to figure it out at the offensive end, but have no clue on defense, and that's something they're going to have to figure out.
Yeah, I got high hopes for him. I just remember how good he was at Purdue. I think he'll do really well. So I think he'll come around. I hope he does.
Yeah, he's going to be a star. He's very good. He's got size. Whenever you're that good and you have size at the point guard position, you're going to be a handful to deal with. So.
All right. Well, enjoy the games this weekend. I think you got a tough one with Rutgers.
Yeah, we'll be sweating that one. Yeah, of course, especially we don't move on from Michigan State anytime soon, right?
Yeah.
Let's get over this. I'm done with State. Get them out of here.
Only one way to do that. There's only one way to do that, and that's through your guys. All right. Well, listen, it's been fun talking again. Good luck this weekend. Look for the invite for the college football. I expect to get back in the winners column.
And I expect to be a repeat winner.
That's what I want to hear. Yeah. That's all good. Enjoy South Florida. Bye. I get knocked down, but I get up again.